come back and answer the questions from video number 1. We had a lot of them, and we wanted to respond in a timely manner. So, gentlemen, how are you?
Doing good.
Very well. Very well.
Excellent.
Sadly, we've all come back to extract more punishment on you, especially from my side, and we all appreciate that greatly. So I'm going to just pull up a doc here, and we're going to read our questions. Anything we want to say before we get rolling, guys?
I'm glad to see the number of people that put out questions. I'm glad to see the number of people that watched and found us entertaining. That's always a relief. And most importantly, I want to thank you, Dan, for putting all this together, because the way that you put it together made it so much more enjoyable to watch.
Well said.
I echo everything
agree.
Stu just said.
And I'll push that back so everybody can hear it, because didn't know where to put this or land it, and I am lucky enough to have this on my channel, and that, gentlemen, this is our content. And let me be clear on that. You guys are the brains behind the outfit on this. I'm just here to, tell you something happened a long time ago, meaning me being born. But yeah, we very, very, very successful, and appreciate everybody's watching. It was a long video. And these generally probably will be long. So, you know what? Take a pause, come back if you need to. That's okay. All right. So let's get to some questions. And we're going to kind of just throw this out. And again, roundtable, who takes it first? We don't know. And this one is kind of, I think all 4 of us will have an answer. So I'm going to throw this to Ontario first. All right.
Oh, boy. Okay.
I know. I got to keep you awake. Ontario, the question is from at Banknote Den.
Mm-hmm.
What should we avoid when putting together collections? Meaning our collection, but there's collections within collections.
Right. The thing that I avoid is anything that I don't feel I know enough about. So for me, I look to try and educate myself first. And to answer your question more directly, at the moment, I'm not diving too deep into obsoletes, even though I did show one on my last video. I have a lot more to learn there. And even fancy serial numbers is another area I don't do a whole lot with. Again, I stress education. I don't know if that's answering your question, but I do education first.
All right. Let's go to Dustin.
I'm right there with him. It's all about education. Like in my personal collection, I'm just focused on fancies. So that's a whole nother topic with what I think is valuable in the fancy world, and then what I don't think is worth my time to collect. And I'm not saying they're not good notes to collect. Everyone kind of has that niche that they kind of go for. But yeah, I personally don't go after like birth year notes and trinaries like Stu and let me think of what else. Like even and odd serial numbers, you can get some that are all even and all odd serial numbers. That just doesn't tickle my fancy a whole lot. So I stay away from those.
Pun intended.
But no, totally intentionally. But they I don't know. I hate to say that they're not fun notes to collect, because you need to collect what you want, but it needs to come back to education. If you're trying to like grow a portfolio, if you're trying to get something that is valuable, I mean, it might be valuable to you, but on the, secondary market, it might only be worth $1, so collect what you want, but know the avenue that you're trying to go down and have like a goal or something you're trying to achieve. I think that kind of helps.
All right. Steve?
No, that's a good point, to have a goal and to have an idea of where your collection is. Some of the things that I try to avoid are things that are so easy to come across. There's a lot of clickbait out there on YouTube with people saying, look for this in your wallet. And half the time it's either in everybody's wallet or it's something that will never be in your wallet because there's only one of. And so those clickbait things just kind of drive me insane. But I try to avoid, believe it or not, collecting certain types of errors, because is it an error? I mean, I've got a whole series based on, is that an error or not?
Really?
And
I wasn't aware.
yeah, I can send you the playlist for that if you like.
I'll put it up there for him.
But what's more important to me though is the fact that there are now ways that these errors can be faked. I did a video showing this laser. The guy was just demonstrating how well his laser works. He wasn't trying to fake anything, and he just happened to take a $1 bill and erase the note clean. Um, if you want to collect errors, I highly recommend getting graded errors, because if it's graded, now somebody else, now you've gotten a professional opinion that it's legit. When you talk about ungraded errors, now you have to worry a little bit about it being legit. So when it comes to things that I avoid the things that I can't necessarily prove. If I can't prove that that's an error one way or the other, then I'm not going to put any money in it.
First off, for me, is it affordable, and is it attainable? And I think all four of us, especially outside of fancies, I know that Dustin, you don't have exclusive fancies,
Right.
star notes and other notes that are in, but do they have a story? I mean, Stu, this is what got me, your hook got me into that. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. Does it tell a story? And that means a lot more to me, personally. And yeah, it's the historical and put you to sleep story, but I'm still going to tell it to you.
Well, it's interesting though, because this is how important that story is. For the longest time, people have asked me if I had gotten a porthole. The $5 1914 porthole note, silver
23.
certificate, I think.
23.
23, yeah,
23.
23, yeah. And I avoided that note because of how expensive it was, and because I didn't know a story behind it. And then once I heard that story, that the porthole was frowned upon by everybody because it looked like somebody was looking down a gun sight at Lincoln right after he was
Right.
assassinated.
Oh boy.
Now I understand the story behind it, and I was able to go out and get one. So the
It's a
story
great point.
is huge. And I've had many, high valued notes, but that one just never was on my radar. I knew about it, but it wasn't until the story hit that made me go out and get that note.
Well, and for me, we touched on, I think I touched on this last time, but I'm putting together my first real collection of obsoletes. And I don't know where to go to obsoletes. And we've got another question that's coming up on obsoletes, or that at least that will address it. And for me, it was like, okay, is it attainable, achievable, affordable? But I know I'm putting together a collection that is not achievable, and that's okay. That's okay. But knowing that going in, and I'm going to compare that to everybody seems to pick up, which is an easy one, and it's a great note, is one of, the Hawaii overprint one for the emergency issue, or the North Africa one. Then they want the 5, and they're like, oh, the 5 is expensive,
Very expensive.
very expensive.
Very, yeah.
And the 10 and the 20 probably might be cheaper or the same price than the 5.
Yeah, they're cheaper.
And at least I go, when you know that going in, that to me is find that out with your collections on what you're trying to do. But have a goal. Have a goal. Collecting eclectically is great. Willy-nilly is not. And I would say eclectically for me, collecting money it's got story. That's for me. All right. Anything else for comment on that? All right. No. Our next question. The question is from Holy Yuckles, which love that name. My question is for all four of you gentlemen. If price was no issue, what would be your dream note to own and why? For instance, Holy Yuckles is from Omaha, Nebraska. So his dream note would have been to have the 1882 Omaha National Bank brownback note. Awesome note, brownback anywhere. So that's so he's asking what would our dream note be?
So with me doing the fancies and stuff, and my love for, and I think I mentioned it last video, the $100 gold certificate, the 28, and which I still don't have in the collection. But if I can ever find one of those with a fancy serial number, that, as simple as that sounds, that would be my holy grail note. So there is one out there, but it's in a private collection, and I think it's 00011 000.
Oh boy.
So it's like a true binary radar, I mean, it's just pretty amazing.
Stu.
Mine isn't very much of a holy grail because it's actually on my in my watch list on eBay, and technically I could have it tomorrow if I wanted to. Um, it's just a matter of what am I going to do in the meantime for money. uh, I could easily sell everything I got and get it. But no, seriously, it's the 1905 Technicolor. That's my note.
Oh
And
yeah.
Oh yeah.
to me, it's number 4 overall in the top 100.
Yeah.
But number 1 is $1 million or a multi-million-dollar grand watermelon. Number 2 and 3 are also just one of a kind notes. So yeah, I mean, having a Technicolor, to me, that's the goal. I mean, especially since that's simply the colorized version of the first note that I ever bought. So I mean, that really ties into my collection because that's where it all started for me, and yet it's almost the epitome of what all collectors would want, and attainable. That's the other thing. It's attainable. So yeah, it may not seem like a huge surprise or a big deal, but yeah, I would really want to get one of those. And like I said, I've been watching a couple of them and just real hesitant to pull the trigger because there's a lot of zeros there. But it'll happen. It will happen.
Ontario.
Well, for me, I like well, we all know about the grand watermelon. I like the if price for no object, the $100 version of that, which I think is just called the watermelon note.
Yeah.
Yep. I like the reverse of that, but unfortunately, so does everybody else in the world. So the price is quite high. But that would be my answer. Short and sweet. It would be that $100, what they call the watermelon note. It's Freeburg 377, if anybody wants to look it up.
And for
And
those that don't know, it's called the watermelon because, go ahead, Ontario.
Oh, well, it's called the watermelon because of the shape of the zeros on the back of the note.
And the decorative detail.
Yeah, they have the stripes.
All right. So I split this into two, kind of like Stu did. So my dream note that probably is unattainable is I'll put a picture up when we go there, $500 1882 gold certificate. I love that flavor of that whole gold certificate era. It's different from other large size notes. It's got Lincoln on it, and it's just the $500, and I've got a thing for $500 kind of. My achievable bucket list would be a Minneapolis Federal Reserve $500 note to start off with. That's on, kind of like Steve. It's like, yeah, if I want to buy it, I can. I just don't know if I want to spend those funds. But that is probably my next big save up and purchase. That's what that is. Good question. Next question is a little bit more still down the line. This is a good one. If you had to pick a second favorite country to collect, what would that be? And that comes from, who did that come from? PBA 4256. I'll lead off first because I'm kind of like it's beating a dead horse. I have fallen in love with countries very close to us, basically our neighbors. I've fallen in love with Canadian currency, Mexican currency, and Cuban currency from the 1950s. There's still a couple notes that I got to fill in from there. They're just awesome, awesome notes. But if you watch my videos, you know why. And I still love U.S. currency, so they all still are second. Steve, take this one.
Okay. The country that I have been dabbling the most in recently is Canada. I enjoy learning about those notes. You guys have seen the $50 1974 that I just am blown away by that. I'm sorry, 1975. I make sure I get that right. With the Canadian Mounties on the back. And then there's the Devil's Head series, which I've got some interesting stuff coming up regarding that. But then you just learn some of the other things in the past. They had large size notes. I've recently picked up a large size Canadian note. Didn't even know it was a thing. I was watching a particular YouTuber telling me all kinds of stuff about Canada, and he just never really mentioned the size of
Kind
the
of forgot
notes.
to say that there.
Oh, is that you? Oh, okay. But yeah, so the Canadian notes have been fascinating to me, and I've been dabbling a little bit there.
Ontario?
I think for me, a second country would be Mexico. And of course, I've picked up a couple here and there, but I like the notes for their history and people, and they show a lot of the the animals that are native to the area, and so for me, it would be Mexico.
That's an award-winning banknote, by the way.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
a
not kidding.
great note.
Dustin,
Mine would actually be a little more historical. I like the French colonial notes, like colonial Africa.
Hmm.
So the ones, I guess, what would it be like Burkina Faso and the Ivory Coast, where it's they on the notes, it's not the beauty of them, it's the history behind them, where they say like French colonial Africa or Central African franc notes. I've always kind of liked those, and recently I've been going through a lot of my foreign currency, and man, they're just intriguing. A lot of them are like green and pink and just really unusual looking notes, and they're very formal. And I don't know, there's a lot of history there, and they speak a lot of French in Africa because of that. Especially over in the Ivory Coast, and I think Mali is one, and just Western Africa there. So I think that's where I would lie with my collection.
I mean, Ontario, you're showing those modern, no, that modern
Yeah.
note on that 50 pesos. I mean, if you're looking for something to do, it's maybe have some time off, pick a country and get their modern stuff.
Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
series,
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of the countries have stopped.
Like that.
And right. And they've stopped, and you can get the issue before the modern. They're beautiful banknotes, and you can complete them very inexpensively.
They're very inexpensive. Yeah.
Very inexpensive, and it's a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
So, all right. This is going to go straight to Mr. Dustin. What is a fancy serial number? And the confusion that this is actually from Dean at Massabesic Gold and Silver, because he's turning to the currency side, gentlemen. We're doing it.
We're getting one.
It's working. But he's confused with, and this is my word, not his, clickbait on the integrity of other channels that are variety and error types that are, it's like, well, okay, the difference, and then the whole value thing. And I think, Stu, you would have a comment on that. But I mean, what technically is a fancy number, Dustin?
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying collect what you want. Okay, but if you're looking for value, fancy numbers are the ones that they don't occur all the time. They set up to be unusual. A good example is a radar note. If you think of the word radar, it reads the same forward as it does backward. That term is palindrome. So if you get a serial number that reads the same forward as it does backward, think of how rare that is. All right. Out of every, 10,000 notes, I think there's one of them. I can't remember my percentages, but I think that's roughly the ratio. So we print 96 million notes, and then, we flip and do the next block and do all that stuff. I think that's how it goes. You can figure out there's not tons of radars that pop up, and they're just dispersed amongst the populace here. So there's where the value is because of rarity. All right. Same with like repeater notes and any of those. I'm going to make a video over all this. It's just such a broad topic because there's so many examples, but it kind of goes back to the adding value to your collection and all that stuff. If there's fewer to collect, then therefore it's more valuable. Okay. It's just simple supply and demand.
so the conversation that I had with Dean, it's like a 4-digit number. And I brought up, we both brought
Okay,
up,
yeah.
Steve goes through 52,000 minimum notes a year. Minimum. Well, I know you do more.
Right.
And how many 4-digit numbers are coming out every week or every month?
And to stress, 4-digit number, you're saying a note that starts off with 0000, just to be clear for everybody else.
Correct.
So that would make it a 4-digit. And I always consider those just quad zeros. And I can pull out my box of quads and probably show you a dozen or so of those. But that's a 4-digit. If you want to talk about a 3-digit, I've never found one. Do you see how that's rare?
Right. Okay. Let's get back to that, Stu. But I mean, the question is, what is a fancy? Go back to the main question. Is a 4-digit zeros, then 4 digits, is that considered a low serial fancy serial number? Yes or no?
I do not.
And
Well, I mean, it's rare, yes, but personally, like I skip on those. I don't pay money for those.
I mean, in the collecting investment part, and again, Dustin, you said that key word was collect what you want.
Yes.
Investment part, it's 999 and lower. That would be
yes.
an investment. No. And going back
1,000 or less.
Yeah. So going back over to Steve, yeah, because if it's 1,000, it's a
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. that is a true binary.
So going back over to Stu, and that's where I'm like, sorry if I mix Steve and Stu, I apologize. But you don't know what's really in this cup. I mean, again, the sheer volume that you go through. And what are you finding? And
well, yeah, that's the thing. With quads, I don't think of quad zeros as leading numbers as a low number. I've actually found star notes that were like that, and that's kind of not fair because there's star notes in general are low numbers. So
Right.
I don't really want to count that. But 3 digits, never found one in circulation. 2-digit, never found one in circulation. That's where you're starting to find the rarity. Okay, rarity and value should go hand in hand. And it's very easy to say that a note is rare because it's one of 100,000 or whatever. The thing is the goal is not to complete your collection today. The goal is for this to be a hobby. It's supposed to be something that you do and take time to do and enjoy doing. So yeah, you can collect anything you like. But if you really like trinaries, don't go out buying them. Go to the bank with that
Yeah.
money you were going to spend on it, get some singles and look through them. And you know something? You're going to find them because they're out there.
Yeah.
One of the biggest points I made to Dan before was about trying to define what rare is. And he was saying how trinaries are rare when you compare them to other notes. And my example was, well, when I show trinaries, the question isn't, did I find a trinary this week? The question is, how many did I find this week? And that is your determination of rare. If you're looking to see how many you found, it's not rare.
Great.
Right.
And that put it in square with my head. But going back to the confusion, and again, we want to address, newer collectors. And I think that's the fear that we all have is Jimmy, right, who's spending his hard-earned newspaper delivery money. And he's bringing that in and he's watching Variety. I'm not trying. I'm really trying. I just can't help it. I can't help it, folks. And it's like, I'm going to be snooty. So there. But I just don't see the value there is no value there. Now, is it fun to find? Is it fun if that's you're floating your boat? Great. Don't mix the two. Value versus fun to collect. Two different
Exactly.
That's two different things. Yeah.
And so I guess that's the point. And for that, so this brought up another question. I want to make sure we answered the question. But Dustin, there's a couple other, we've talked about the reading off the list. I mean, there's radars, there's the different types of notes that are considered that fall into the fancy. Do birthday notes fall into the fancy category, or are they just
Yes, I would think they do.
July
you know?
4th, 1776?
Yeah, extremely collectible. I know Silver Surfer has one that he's shown on his channel that is 09/11/2001.
Oh wow.
Right. It's just extraordinary. And obviously I've also seen one that's the date of Thomas Jefferson's birthday. And PMG actually designated it that when this
Wow.
person sent it in for grading. So are birthday notes fancies? Yeah. But you got to think they're only valuable to people Stu, you're shaking your head. I mean, where I'm
Exactly.
going with this. If I find my birthday on a note, of course I'm going to buy it. Am I going to pay $50 for it? Heck no. you know, but if I can give someone $20 for it just to say I have it, yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I would argue that birthday notes most certainly have a value.
Yes.
But I'm in the same boat. About $20. That's, I'd be willing to pay $20 for my birthday note. However, I would not be willing to pay $20 for Dustin's birthday note, unless, of course, I could get it for a real good price and then
You're
milk
going to get
Dustin
it in
for it.
profit off me. You're right.
Yeah.
Hey, Dustin.
But so yeah, generally speaking, yeah, they do have value, but their value is very specific to an individual person. So you're
Mhm.
probably not going to make a lot of money selling birthday notes, because when you find birthday notes, most of the time the dates are older than what you see people walking around. So Ontario's got a better chance of finding a birthday note for his birthday
Right.
than we do.
Exactly.
Well, in obsolete notes.
Yeah. Yeah. On an obsolete. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I think it's just listening to you guys that sort of what we said originally is sort of the difference between what you like to collect and what's valuable. If I could just, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but what I'm hearing is if you just like birthday notes and you can get them for face value, go for it. But you're probably not
Oh
going to
yeah.
make any money on it. Just do it for fun. That's fine.
And
What you
There's
like.
it costs
there's
you
a
the
lot of
trip to the
channels. Yeah, there's a lot of channels that are promoting stuff that is only rare because they said so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And
That's
because
dangerous.
they say it's rare, their audience then perceives it to be rare. So then they will go forward and buy those notes because they were told it's rare. So now there are eBay listings of sold items that this person said was rare, and he can now prove that they are rare and worth money because he sold them. So it's his own circle of value there. Whereas if you take these notes to anybody else, nobody would ever give you anything over
Yeah.
face value.
Yeah. You go
That
to a coin show with that note, a coin show with a reputable dealer, they're gonna, I don't want to say they're gonna laugh at you, but they aren't going to give you the time of day on that note.
Yeah, Dan, you were kind of hesitant about mentioning something. I'll mention Kingdom Currency. Okay, I watched him on Whatnot, even though he banned me on 2 separate accounts, because I'd ask simple questions. He was showing what he called a true trinary. What's a true trinary? Anybody? He's calling a true trinary a trinary, which is a note that just has 3 digits. Okay, and I don't mean a 3-digit number. I mean 3 different digits.
Right.
And he's calling, well, a true binary would be zeros and ones, which is based off the computer binary system. Okay, the binary code.
Right.
Well, he says that a true trinary would be zeros, ones, and twos. Well, where are you getting that from? There is no trinary code. So he's making up a term. He's simply adding the 2 to binary and calling it a trinary and thinking that makes it worth something, which it clearly doesn't. Now, when you do the math, there are 695,000 trinaries printed per every single 100 million notes. Okay, but now he's saying a true trinary only has zeros, ones, and twos, which only makes up a small percentage of trinaries. So now that trinary that's supposed to be one of 695,000 is actually one of only 15,000. So that makes it rare. And no, it does not. All you did was divide up trinaries and all of their different components and picked apart this one little component. And now you're stressing rarity. Then he took it a step further and told everybody on his channel that was watching on Whatnot that he sold one of those for $100 on eBay. Then he took one and put it up for sale on Whatnot, and it sold for $6. Then he took another one and sold it for $6. And then he took another one and sold it for $6. So this ultra rare note, he just sold, I think he sold like 6 of them for an average price of about $6 a piece. Now, the ultimate question is, what if the person who paid $100 on eBay for that note was watching that Whatnot stream? They
Right.
forked out $100 for that one note, and they just could have bought these last 6 for a third of that price combined.
Yeah.
See, that's when you start to understand why I go after these guys with their fake serial numbers, because they don't even realize they're doing it, but they just told everybody, yeah, I scammed somebody for $100. And then right there on the very same screen, they sell the note for $6. Well, then it's clearly not worth $100 if you are going to put it out there in the open market, and that's all you can get for it.
Right.
Let me sidebar this a little bit.
Oh, I thought that was a sidebar.
I don't remember what was 5 minutes ago. So with that said, and we're talking numbers, to me, star notes, modern star notes, and it's one of 620,000 or 320 or one of this or one of that. What's the value on those? Even if it is one of a lower number, it shows up at mycurrency.com. What's the value of that?
Like not much over face value. If you get a low limited run, I mean, there's an asking price on those, but I mean, an example, I bought one from Silver Surfer a couple years ago. It was a Minneapolis from 2017, and I think there's 32,000 or 64,000, and I ended up selling that for like $75.
Now, I could have been one of those people that would say, yes, I'd be interested in that because of the Minneapolis
Exactly.
aspect.
Right.
My question is, can you, if it's one of 32 or 64,000 or 180, whatever you want to do, my question on the modern stars is there 32,000 people that are going to pay $75 for that? No.
I just happen to have this sitting on the table here. Okay, I hope this comes through. This is a $2 note. Okay, look at that serial number. I don't know if you can see it or not. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this particular $2 note is a 2003 $2 star note, and if you couldn't see the number, it's 00002556. This is from a print run of 15,000. Okay, and it comes in this little neat carrying case. They only made 15,000. You can go on eBay and buy these one of 15,000 star notes. I think I paid $40 for this. Okay.
Right.
One of 15,000,
which
$40
is incredibly low. Incredibly.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because you guys,
think of
you had
coins.
mentioned 320,000,
So this
Yeah.
is where, from my aspect, from the hobby, I could care less about star notes. If I want to expand my 1, 2s, and 5 collection that I have and add star notes, signature combinations to that, great. I have chosen not to. I just don't see the value in them, but yet people are going through, I found these stars, I found these stars, I found these stars. And, Steve, I know why you're doing it. You're not doing it for the reason that I see on other channels. And they are valuable to a certain degree to certain people. It's just like, but can you turn them over as an investment aspect? And that's what bothers me. They get lumped in with the trinaries and quads and on these channels, the star notes get lumped into it. And I sit there and go, okay, there's one of 320,000. I'm going to keep it. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth for this one, because to start with, if you've watched me, or if you've watched anybody else strap hunt, they will all tell you virtually the same thing. You're going to find approximately 1 star for every strap you go through.
Mhm.
That means 1% of the notes circulating are stars, which
Right.
is not rare. Okay. So finding a star in general isn't hard. It isn't rare. It shouldn't be worth more money. I think we would all agree that 1 out of 100 is not rare.
Right.
Right.
So that's one aspect of it. However, the BEP is considering a rule change or a law change. And I don't know if I should spill the beans on this or not, but here goes. The current law states that the notes have to come out in sequential order. So when you get a brand new strap of notes, you get 0-1 on top, 0-0 on the bottom. And if there's any note with a mistake, that note gets pulled and replaced with a random star number, so all of the other notes are still in order. That's the whole point of having star notes. Well, the BEP is talking about a rule change or a law change that no longer requires notes to come out in sequential order. And if that's the case, there is no longer a need for stars to be inserted whenever notes are misprinted,
Uh-oh.
which means star notes would no longer be printed. So there is now a finite number of star notes.
That
So
would
that's
make them
me.
valuable.
That's me talking out of both sides of my mouth. Until
Sure.
that rule comes into play, though, star notes are 1% of the circulating notes.
That's good
And
information.
I can see the value of that. I mean, that totally makes sense to me, because now it's just like star notes or fancies. And you guys have said it before. I think we talked about it last time when we're talking about, silver certificates, red seals. They're done. There's not going
Right.
to be any more of those, or the
Right.
large size. Yeah, I totally get that. That is something unique, something special. But okay. All right. The next one is again one of these, and these are great fuzzy questions, but sometimes there's just not good answers to them. So the question was, and this came from it's cool because he uses the @ symbol as his YouTube handle as part of his name. Alexander3299. Very clever. Nice job on that. It's the @ symbol ALXNDR. And if I can pick that up, trust me. I am not the sharpest knife on the Christmas tree, folks.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
I can see from Friedberg's U.S. paper money book what value notes have up to grade of 63. What is the pricing after that? Meaning 64 into gem. Does each number add a % to the pricing? Because I see values online that are way above 63 grade prices. That's last thing. I see values online. I think that's a separate question. So who wants to anybody want to take that one first? All right, I'll dive in with the second part of that. One, when you're talking about this book, it is a guideline. Notice I'm taking the easy part, gentlemen. It is a guideline. All right. The prices are not, they could be more than likely, they're probably, I'm going to say 20 to 40% undervalue, but not always. Not always. Sometimes they are overpriced on this. So this is a guideline. And so how I use this, and I'm just going to say this, like, okay, I'm looking for this note, this $5 red seal. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I'm looking along here. And it's like, here's all the Federal Reserve notes. Boom, Richmond pops up. It's like double the price of the rest of them. Well, that district, obviously it's a rarity. So that's going to affect price. So that's where that book comes in. You can't let that book be your only pricing value. You have to go on to, go on to heritage auctions, do a search of what's sold, what are the values. eBay will do that for you. You can find what the pricing is. What that price is really is going to be what the market determines, but it's probably going to be more than what's in the book. Is that a fair way to
I think that's well said.
put that?
No.
Now he's going to the first, that's the second part of the question. The first part was that stops at 63. Does anybody know why it stops at 63?
I'm going to go with there probably just aren't that many above that condition to start with.
Exactly.
When it comes to looking up notes of a particular grade in that book, there is not a set percentage. You can't say that there's a set percentage that it goes up from 63 to 64 or from 64 to 65. There is not a set percentage. That varies from note to note, but you can use the book to help determine what that particular percentage may be for that particular note. If you look and a note graded 8 is $10, and if it's graded 20, it's $100, and if it's graded 40, it's $1,000. Those are big jumps. So yeah, when they say a 63 is worth 10,000, well, the 64 might be 20,000. It very well could be that big of a jump. But if you're looking at a note that's $100 in a grade 8, and it's $110 at a 20, and it's $150 at a 40, then the jump isn't going to be as significant. So even though they don't list the actual price for notes above that 63 grade, you can use the other grades as an idea as to how much each step up is. I don't deal with a whole lot of high grade notes because I'm poor. But Dustin, you send in a lot of notes for grading.
Mhm.
And Ontario, I know you have notes that are in the 64, 65 category. Are you guys seeing what kind of differences are you guys seeing in price?
Anything above a 65, I think that the price does jump considerably for especially large size notes. But man, I'm in such a boxed in collecting category with fancies that a high grade note, if it comes in at say a 66 or 67, sure, the price is going to be higher, but it is more desirable also with it being a fancy serial number. I might not be the right one to ask on that one. Ontario, you start. Let me gather my thoughts.
Well, all I was going to say, kind of building on what you said, is the higher you go up, even a 63 or 64, in the notes that I've bought, I didn't have any problem finding those notes. But when
Yeah.
you get above that 63 mark, the prices start to get kind of crazy. And then you
Yeah.
go above 65, it's just about whatever the person's willing to pay for it.
Right. I think of
Because they're
large
so
size
rare.
notes.
Because they're so rare.
Right.
I'm talking about large
Right.
notes. I'm talking about large notes.
Right. Large notes are the easier one to discuss within this category because, they're all of them are like 100 years old now,
Yeah.
and they're not making any more of them. And, the majority of the high grade ones are graded. That's the thing.
Yes.
Very, very rarely is someone going to, open a book and find 4 or 5, battleships that are all going to grade an AU 50 or above. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
So those prices are pretty well set, and they've done nothing but climb, as more people have kind of got into the hobby. But, I'm trying to think of a good example of, okay, so the $5 educational, that's a good one to talk about because the numbers jump so much.
Yeah.
But like $5 educationals right now in that 65 grade are like $35,000. Okay. It's stupid money. And then you go to 66, they're like 60K. It's a $25,000 jump.
Well,
Yeah, the Morganback, the $5 Morganback for 1886.
Yeah, oh, that's a great example.
Yeah, I've got that note, and I had to pick it up for the price I did. I paid $700 for mine.
I wanted
and
to
then
stab
went out
you
and sent it
neck
graded.
for that price point because that was a beautiful purchase.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
I sent it in for grading, and it's worth whatever it's worth. But that note in high grade is a $60,000 note. That was,
Right.
so I mean, there you go, as far as huge prices on the high side and low prices on the lower
Well,
side. That's just so big difference.
part of the 63, 64, I'm going to take a note from Ben the Coin Geek. When he's talking about the Morgans, you'll run into the common year Morgans that sat in huge vaults in bags. And that common date, there's a lot of gems.
Yeah.
64 and above. So that price point from 64 to 65 to 66 isn't as large.
Correct.
And currency has the same thing. And when we're talking about these notes, I mean, it's rarity.
I think it's about survivors. It's rare.
Survivors.
What you said.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have a note that is a low survivor and is popular, that will be a valuable note.
Yep. It's double.
Obviously.
Yep. So, I mean, that's where to get back to this is the fuzzy part of the question to Alexander. It's not an easy, it's literally category by category, note,
Yeah.
by note, denominator.
Freeburg by Freeburg.
Right. It
Yes.
really is.
You know.
Yeah. The only thing I would add is the book as a guide is what we've said, but I would just say dive into those recent auction sales where you can and see what people are paying for notes.
And that great
now,
points, Ontario.
I got to say one thing about that. So, depending on what note you're looking for, some notes don't come up for auction very often. If they're rare. So you can hit a wall with that.
By the way, footnote just for that, the newest version does list 65s as a grade on that. So
yeah, 63 and 65 as well. Yeah.
All right.
60, 63, 65 are listed.
Right. And again, it's all buyer beware. It's what do you want to pay for it? And in Ontario, the auction, it's like, be careful. Also, even on a simple, I fall into this. Who cares about a 1950 whatever Minneapolis Federal Reserve note? Unless two people do on eBay and they're bidding against each other.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's true.
That nukes your whole pricing. Who wants it worse? And
Yep.
you know that so that just can't be predicted, which probably happens on what we're talking about. The more popular, the collectibles, those notes probably have to, because Ontario, you just said it. How often does it come up? So those are all good topics to do that, but it's again, you know, one of the things I'm going to come back to is like going to the elementary thing. I made, well, you know, pull it out. I mean, this is me because I don't remember anything, but I took, and I have this just at what this is it's my printout of PMG, PCGS, and actually legacy. And I know people are going to go, oh, legacy of their grading. What is a 4 good? What is a 10 very good? And the differences between that. And so I compared all three and copied them off. And actually, I use legacy more often than not, because if I was to give you the 6-word description of what a very fine 30 is from PCGS compared to the paragraph description of what legacy gives you, it gives you more information to determine what is what going up and down. And I think that's unbelievably important when you're looking at any notes, is trying to guesstimate what that is. One of the biggest problems with eBay, even though I am a fan of eBay, it's a huge problem of what you're getting. And that's a whole nother topic we don't want to go down today, but we're going to go there, folks. We're coming back. eBay is going to be like a whole episode in itself, likely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe more than one.
Yeah, exactly. I love how this was at Banknote Den, came back with a second question, perhaps a sidebar here on recording and video editing software recommendations. I am highly encouraging people to think about this. Stu, you did this on your channel. Record it, put it, give it to me. Let me see the video. Folks, there's not enough of us out there. That's why we're doing this. I can throw 18 dead cats and hit 1,000 coin channels, or worse, bullion channels. And there's just not enough currency channels. And I think all four of us want more, yet it would be our competition. We don't care.
Yeah,
It's the community. It's not a competition.
Right.
right. It's not about the biggest or the best. It's about information. And that's what I want. Give me more information. Anybody, put it
Right.
out there. If you're giving me information, I'm going to watch.
So, and participate in the community. I mean, we all comment on each other's, make fun of each other, and that's how we're sitting here by doing that.
That's a huge point.
If you're going to have a channel and you just never comment on any other channels, guess what? I'm not watching your channel.
Right.
I'm just not.
Let me know who you are. There's enough people doing live streams that you can jump in on a live stream and people can get to know you, understand who you are and what you're about. That leads people to coming to your channel. And then, of course, in your videos, you get to talk to other people that are doing it, learn or tell what you've learned from them. And that's literally how it grows. To just go out there and wade into the world all by yourself, that's difficult. But if you're part of the community, then it's so much easier.
Well, and I will say this from all of you, well, except Dustin, you didn't care. When I started my channel, the support that I got from everybody was great. And I'm giving Dustin crap, but especially, Steve, you gave me a ton of support right off the bat, and it's so appreciated, sincerely. But
it was worth it.
Well,
yeah,
that's just part of it. So if someone wants to start, and this is where when we talked about this question, folks, before we hit record. And it's like we have 4 different versions here of what we do and how we record, and none of them are wrong. It's about content and first. So I'm going to go around the horn and say, any advice? And I'll start with Dustin. As far as if you wanted to do your own YouTube currency channel.
Oh yeah. Mine's simplicity because of time. I have a busy life. And I'm always working and I play in a band and I go gig and do all that. And so when I have time and the lighting's right, kind of like what we talked about last week, then I'll make some videos. So I literally grab my phone, the chair I'm sitting in right now, I throw up the leg rest on it, just like I'm sitting here right now. And I hold my phone above the note and I say, "Hey guys, welcome to Fancy Friday." And I just roll with it. The simplicity of it is just where I am and where I'm comfortable with. And Dan, I think I said in an email to you, I would love to learn how to edit like you do, but I just don't know if that would fit my style of video either.
I don't think it. And by the way, I don't think it would, and it wouldn't have made any difference, Dustin, because I still watch your channel and I still appreciate what you do. I don't care if it was Polaroid pictures being, on a slideshow projector. It's the content, it's how you show the notes, it's how you're talking about the notes to me. So you didn't need that. And I am that guy. I am that guy that wants different things in that area. And it doesn't matter.
Sure.
It does not.
But my advice is simplicity. Do what you're comfortable with. Don't try to overcomplicate stuff, because if it feels muddled, if it feels like it's just like there's too much going on, well, there probably is. So.
All right, Steve or Ontario, did you want to comment first?
Well, go ahead, Steve.
Let's see. Where should I go with this? I'm a talker. As I ooh and all this stuff. No, I'm a talker. I used to be a magician. And I say used to be, I guess you're never really not a magician. And the odd part there is I am used to talking to people. But when you're a magician, it's highly, highly scripted, even though nobody realizes that. But you have to be able to adapt. Whenever somebody says or does something, now you're off script and you have to be able to just roll with it. So over the course of being a magician, I learned to talk in front of people, and I learned to be able to be quick as far as a particular topic. So when I do my videos, that's why I do my videos unscripted. I want to do my videos so that the information that I'm giving sounds conversational. And I'm not saying that using a script isn't conversational. It's a huge writing ability to make a script sound conversational. And that is what I don't have. I have a excellent writing ability, but to convert it into conversation, a written conversation, that's what's difficult for me. That's why
Yeah.
I just go with a couple little notes and I film it off the cuff. I don't edit it. If there's any oohs and ahs in there or whatever, so be it, because you're getting the genuine thought process from me at that particular time. And like you said, there isn't a right way or a wrong way to do it. I've said this in the past. Every one of our viewers knows what to expect from us, so we shouldn't change. We should continue doing what we do
Yeah.
because they know what to expect and they like us for it. So why change it? But yeah, that's my attitude toward that. I'm gonna film it as I see it in one shot, saying whatever's on my mind, and that to me just seems to make it the easiest to listen to from my perspective, anyway.
You got a lot of people agree. I think all
Yeah.
three of us would
Amen.
agree with that.
Yeah, you bet.
Ontario?
Yeah, I started my first videos there was no editing at all. I just turned the camera phone on and just did it. I started doing editing because I got tired of starting over. So I just simply use iMovie. I'll tell you what I do real quick. I usually record the audio first and edit that and get the sound and the words right. And then I record the video and lay it over the top of it. I mean, it's just that simple. I can imagine what it will look like while I'm speaking. And I think I said I use iMovie. It's really quick, and that's it. It's free. And to echo what the other guy said, the main thing is just do it. Put some content out there. That's the main purpose. No matter how you choose to do it, just do it.
Well, and
It's interesting because a lot of us have our own, well, obviously we all have our own personalities that go into it. But if you've never filmed a video, you don't know what your on-camera persona is going to be.
Yeah.
So
You don't
the
know what you
only way to
sound like either.
Yeah, exactly. That's always interesting for most people. Yeah. But yeah, you
Right.
never know. There's going to be that little bit of nervousness when you first start out, but after you get over that, you still got to say something. So you never know how your persona is going to be, and that alone is its own little adventure, just to see
Yeah.
how you
Mhm.
go through it.
well, I know
Right.
I've changed a lot in mine. It's like I realized I've had to become much more animated. If you go back, I can barely watch my first video, even though I think it's a really good video. I'm just like checking my pulse to see if I'm alive during that.
I watch your first video a lot.
So
Yeah,
just
that's
hoping that,
I've watched that one more than I have any of your others.
wow.
Anytime I'm feeling bad, I watch that video, and you make me feel so much better.
That's
But
gonna
that
Oh,
wasn't
that was
always
good.
all right.
that's beautiful, man. Um, but with the whole editing thing, you don't need it. And these two gentlemen are proof right here. Me and Ontario will do editing. The editing that Ontario said, if you want, it's movie time, movie, yeah, movie,
iMovie. Yeah.
iMovie is free software, and we are all on a platform that you can just search on YouTube, iMovie. How do I?
Yes.
And it's going to come up and it's going to show you how. So have the patience to do that if you want to do that. If you want to do that.
Yeah.
And I would say to these two, to Stu and Dustin, don't change a thing. That's who you are. Do not change a thing. Silver Surfer said that. Like, no, don't do it. It's not who you are. It's gonna. I think that's why we all watch you guys. And I'm just fascinated with Ontario, and again, because gentlemen of our age, I'm 57, he's 1008.
Yeah. 4
We
digits.
what? I'm sorry.
I said 4 digits.
We get to the point where it's like we're folks that don't do that, right? That's techie stuff.
Right.
But it is achievable if that's what you want to do, and sometimes it saves people time. My biggest thing is, one, it's on YouTube. You have the option to not put it public. So
Yeah.
make a video, share it with your friends, get feedback. Stu said about that personality. You can show it to specific people. and ask if you're uncomfortable of just putting it out there, or just flip the switch and let her rip. That's okay too. For me though, I will tell you this, my 2 cents is that, Dustin, I make fun of your tripod, but you don't really need a tripod because you do use your chair, and we're going to make fun of the chair, but it's not about the chair. It's about that beautiful note that you've got in front of it. We can see it. It's well lit and your sound. So if you're struggling with sound, for $12 or less, you can get a little, a clip-on microphone.
Lapel. Yeah.
Lapel, yep. And you plug it into your phone and it's all done. You don't have to do anything. And if you for whatever reason you got echoing in the background, be aware of that, because that frustrates people sometimes. The echoes and things like that. Lighting is your biggest evil competitor. Lighting is the toughest thing. Know where your lights are. Experiment with your lighting. It took me a while to figure out, and the minute you turn that note, boom. And it's so much harder to show currency in a plastic sleeve than it is a coin, because it's so much larger of a surface. So
sunlight versus artificial light is huge.
Yep. I mean, if you can get that, it's just to think about it. So what if your lighting's not the same? Is it good lighting? That's really kind of my 2 cents. And then everything else will fall together. Have a like, Dustin knows what he's going to say. Ontario scripts somewhat sometimes, but there's always, Steve, you've got a list. You know what you're going to say for the most part. Right. Call it a bullet point list. Have that, and believe me, please come jump in the pond of currency, because on YouTube, because there isn't enough, and I don't know why, and I constantly ask that question, and that's okay. Where are they? You're on eBay making me pay more. But you're not over here. Right yeah. Sorry, Steve's like closing out on options.
Getting now.
I know we're planning to get together. Actually, we're New Year's Day, just so coming up next, we're planning to get together and doing another one. We want to put some topics out there, one of being purchase, eBay, things like that. But again, feel free to comment. Give us some ideas of what you want to hear, because we might be wrong.
And we may be contacting you. We will be having guests on this show as well.
Yes, we've talked about that, and some people have already reached out to that. And yes, we certainly want to bring more than our brains, because maybe with someone else we might have a complete one. We
need guests.
Yes.
Right.
Wow, Ontario, you say it like not that bad, is it? Okay, it is. All right, that's it. I'm going to say happy holidays to everybody, because it is that time of year, and we all certainly appreciate everyone's time and watching. And that's it.